pray for it.
Almighty God, we thank you for the opportunity to gather together. We thank you for the opportunity to serve this community and to do the business of this community. We ask that you would bless all that is said tonight, bless the deliberations, and bless the statements, that what is done here tonight might be pleasing to you. In your name we ask, amen.
Amen. Okay, the first item is approval of the May 17th, 2022 Rules and Legislative Committee meeting minutes. The minutes are closed.
Second.
Okay. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? And next is under considerations and requirements. It's a second item is consideration of placing the June the 14th, 2022 Commission minutes on the July 12th, 2022 County Commission agenda.
Make a motion to place those on the agenda without a recommendation.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The third item is consideration of placing the notary applicants on the July 12th, 2022 County Commission agenda as requested by County Clerk Donna Thomas.
Move to approve.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, reports, the veterans report was in there. I think in May there were 59 veterans that were transported to the VA hospitals, and 53 came by the office, had visits in the veterans office. I think, Jerry, is anything, you showed me something, could you go over,
Mike.
yeah, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Mike. Go over what you just explained to me and how much money spent, that line you
Yes,
showed me.
got
That's important.
got a report from our senior VSO who's in Knox County, and he sends out this report yearly. In the millions of dollars, $16,974 is brought into the veterans for compensation or pension, and the veterans in the community spend $35,276,000. That's just in year 21. So.
And Mr. Chairman, I also, as our local commander, this district right here, or this post, they were nominated for the All-State,
Yeah, we could receive those.
received the All-State, and in this 5-county district, you were voted the number one in the entire country, I believe.
The district
The
was,
district
yes.
was number one in the entire country. So we are
Great work.
very proud of the work you're doing there with our veterans, and it's a very big accomplishment, and thank you for everything you're doing for them.
You're welcome.
Very
Thank
good,
you.
very good work. Congratulations.
And also, of course, we were talking about beforehand, we just went through Memorial Day, but that was a big event as well. Everything went well then.
Everything went just great. It was really
You can
fantastic.
be committed with that too, because it's probably one of the better ones that we've had.
Yes, I think it's the best one we've ever had.
Great, again.
And a
it's-
big turnout and everything else.
A job well done, and thank you again. You know, the elderly and the veterans people are very, very important in this. Our young children in elementary school. Okay, the next is the Ag Board minutes were in the package. Of course, they've met again since we had the other minutes. I think they met on the 13th. I don't guess there's anything to go over. It looks like it's still in good order. We usually have Commissioner Anderson to bring us up because he's the chair of the Ag Board, but everything looks fine to me. Is there any other comments or discussion from anybody? It's just for our own information, but then we do, I think we do approve them. Any questions?
Move to approve, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
I know the fair's coming up soon, so that'll be.
Yes, it will be, and it's a big ordeal as well. Okay, there's other reports that we didn't have one from community clinic, so, and it is for your own information only. We do have old business. It's left off that the road board did approve a 35 mile an hour the speed limit on Wallace Road and that's Wallis. It's not spelled like.
30 and 35.
I believe it was 30 is what the 30 was what it was. And that was the road board, which we referred it back, that they should have, anyhow, I think it's fine, and they agreed to it. We just need to get it on the agenda. Is there, I guess we've already made a motion once to do it, didn't we, last time? We'll make a motion to
I
put,
thought we did.
I know, we did get on there. But it'll be fine, we need a motion, we just,
I'd make the motion to put it on the commission agenda for this
Second.
next.
okay. Is there any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, I guess we'll get under new business. There was some discussion, after this other, about, dead-end roads. Commissioner Everson, asked, just mentioned it, I don't know if it was in a formal request, for the speed limit to be lowered to 30 miles per hour on the road she lives on, which I guess is,
It was a formal request, my road and Thompson Lane, the lady I work with had asked me to put her road on there. I don't know if there's anybody here from Thompson Lane or not. I asked Mark to send a copy of the dead-end roads, and, there's only 5 roads in the whole county that's over 1 mile, and none of them that are 2 miles that are dead ends. So, I guess if anybody else, I would still like to see us just to do all of the dead ends because they're all so short, but everybody in all, I think it was 100 and something roads wants to come up.
155.
155 roads wants to come up here before us, I guess we do that too, whatever. But mine is Coleman Harvey Lane, and I've talked to my residents on my road, and they would like to have ours 30 miles an hour, and then Amy Bobo had requested that Thompson Lane also be.
my other questions concerning that is, I know the highway department's doing a lot of bush hogging and county road maintenance and patching holes and this and that. I just hate to see us start legislating that much speed limit in that many roads. I don't think it's necessary, and
It's not marked though, it's, they're flying up and down through there.
I understand that, but again, it's like the other situation, it's the sheriff's department, it's a law enforcement issue, and they need to do it. And until the sheriff says it's a problem, then I'm not gonna.
Well, I doubt the sheriff's department's on dead-end road, but, on mine, it's like 0.74 4/10 of a mile, and then there's a really sharp curve. And
Has there been any accidents on that curve?
I don't know how many accidents there has been. I haven't seen the sheriff's department out there, except there was a guy last week. We had to lock down, the TDI was out there looking for him, and then he lived on that road in a tent. And then the sheriff's department did arrest him, that next week. But we have a lot going on out there. And, like I said, if even the sheriff's department's out there, if they're doing 45, then what can they do? On a little bit short road to do it, because they're doing little speed limit.
Mr. Chairman, may I ask a question?
Yes.
I thought that the state had addressed this and said that unless it was otherwise posted, there was a speed limit on the roads that weren't posted or something, and I don't recall exactly what that is.
I think it's 45.
It's 45.
Yeah, that's my understanding.
The roads that Nita's talking about, and a lot of these dead-end roads on this list are, that's fast.
That is fast.
I live here in town, in a neighborhood, it's 30 miles an hour, and in these neighborhoods, and sometimes that's too fast.
Yeah.
30, but I understand your concerns, but like say you've got 100% roads right here, and are a problem, and then how many of these people really want their road done?
No, many of them don't want that.
And if you do 1 or 2, then you're gonna be all over the place.
Okay, so you did Wallace Road, we need not do. It's
Yeah, I think it needs to be one way or the other.
gotta be one you can't pick favor to.
Well, I agree with you. And, I agree with you, Nita, with all these 140 roads or whatever,
155.
So we're gonna go back and,
155.
yeah, so we're gonna go back and take Wallace off before we're gonna.
No, it's passed. We just passed it. We not. No. And the sheriff had several complaints about it. There you go. Yeah, there's the sheriff.
Oh, Sam that lived on Wallace Road, Sam Coach, he did a very extensive study on his own. And the best I recall, and we can certainly find out from him for sure, but he said that the speed limits was between the, I guess, Mark Clanton and the county commission as to what the speed limit was been set at. That's not a call. He had looked it up, he had the TCA code and everything.
Right. And that's what they said before when we were in the meeting. So.
We have the ability, the commission does, we've just never done it. I've been on 20 years on the rules committee, and this was the first, was Wallace Road. And I really think that if they had asked the family that had the basketball court on the highway, the Bedford County Highway, we wouldn't have any problems there, but somehow that didn't get moved, and it was a dangerous situation there with children playing shoot basketball in the middle of the public road. That's the problem. It was law enforcement. It wasn't speed, because most of those people, you know, there's no doubt what Mr. Tom said. Certainly there's places where you don't need to drive that fast. But then I don't want to tell people that, you know, exactly what they can do or can't do, and then you still got, you know, law enforcement. Either way, whether it's 45 or 40 or 30. So, I mean, people are going to pretty much do what they want to, and they're not on those roads. Like, you don't use the sheriff's department to be all those dead end roads much. I mean, it's just not, I don't personally see a need for it. It could be a problem, and if we get some complaints or some sheriff's reports and stuff, then we'll address it as we did Wallace Road. But as far as I know, we don't have any from Coleman, Harvey Lane, or Thompson Lane.
I'm on Coleman RV Lane, I am complaining.
Well, I'm talking about the sheriff's department. Have you called the sheriff about anything?
Okay, I'll start calling you this week.
No, we don't need to do that.
Well, we are. Here,
out there.
it's coming. Sorry.
I mean, that's just my opinion. I'm just one person in the committee of
Since
five.
we're on this subject, and I'll try to be brief, but I would venture to say there's not a road in this county that if you ask somebody, they wouldn't say they had speeders on. I don't care where it's at. I know it. Doing that. With that being said, we do the best we can do, and I try to steer them towards highway patrol because that's what highway patrol does. When you got 4 officers, maybe 6 if you're lucky, and they're answering calls, they're transporting prisoners, civil warrants and everything else, it's just impossible to run radar on every road in Bedford County, 480 square miles of it. We do the best we can, and if you call, we'll come. But,
And the Ken knows how many calls Thompson Lane has had, because we asked him many times questions about it, about the speeding on there and the call. So. But anyway, I'd like to make a motion that those 2 roads be put on the agenda to the county commissioner.
Can I ask you
Along
one
with
question
Wallace
before
Road.
before we make that motion? I'm not sensing that we have consensus yet. Did you think, before you make the motion, did you think it would be best if we waited 30 days? Maybe see if we can gain some consensus, or do you want to make a motion?
To get people to come up here, you mean?
No, to see if the committee would do it, if you can gain some consensus with the committee here to go forward. Or do you think you're prepared to go forward now? I'm just asking.
Brian, that's in your district, what do you think?
I think when you go to tampering with stuff like that, you open up a can that you can't come back from. Before I would even consider changing, I live on a dead end road. And quite frankly, I asked the highway department to come out and take the signs up. I didn't want it. My opinion, before you get into stuff like that, we need some type of statistical data from the sheriff's department on complaints, traffic, and it needs to be individualized and specific and unique to a particular road. I'm just afraid we're gonna get into a blanket situation that I don't see any good ending there.
Like I said, I can start calling the sheriff's department. I mean, I'll just start, I guess we can defer it 30 days, and then I'll start calling the sheriff's department. We have people that fly us down the road all the time.
I would just suggest we defer it 30 days, see if we can gain some consensus among some people, so we can bring it back, see where we can get with that.
And I can get all
That's
my
okay
neighbors
with
to
you.
come in, so yeah, that's fine.
Mr. Chairman, I move we defer this for 30 days, put it on the calendar here next month.
Second?
Second.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Yes, deferred for 30 days. The next item under new business is a rock crusher situation in Deason. And I guess, say, Chris, is that what you're here with?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to. Yeah.
Commissioner Beck?
Yeah,
Yes.
if you don't mind.
No.
I had a number of calls on this situation that has evolved on Squire Hall Road there, and Squire Hall Road, and people have been calling me, and so I asked our planning and codes director, Chris White, to be here today. So I want to go ahead and ask Chris a few questions just to set this up, and then I know you have a response in a letter here, but let me ask you just a few questions, if you don't mind, here going through. So you're aware of the situation there in Deason with the rock crusher operation that is proposed or purported to be coming there?
Yes,
Okay. And does the county have a zoning ordinance for a rock crusher operation? Is there a zoning ordinance for that?
yes.
All right. Does it require a county permit to have an operation like that?
Yeah, it would require zoning compliance.
Okay, all right. Does it require a state permit?
Some parts of it do, yeah.
Does it require a wastewater permit?
Yes.
Okay.
From the deck.
Do they have a county permit?
No,
Do they have, to your knowledge, do they have a state permit?
no,
Do they have a wastewater permit?
no.
Okay. If this is a private individual, if somebody decided, me, or the sheriff decided on our own property that we wanted to put a rock crusher on there for our own use, can we do that on our own property?
If it's not commercial.
It's not commercial, so I can on my property.
You're not gonna take the transport the stone off-site or anything,
Okay,
yes, you can
okay.
do that.
So if I use it on my property for my own individual use, I can move a portable rock crusher in there, and I can use it for my own use. As long as I don't transport it, or try to convey it, or try to sell it, or take it out of county, or anything like that.
Yes.
Okay. Who is Hollingsworth Material LLC?
The owner's name is Mike Hollinshead.
Okay. And do they own property located as, or identified as map 22 parcel 15 on Squire Hall Road?
Yes, they recently purchased, they actually, it's the same as Smyrna Ready Mix, so if you're familiar with the company Smyrna Ready Mix,
Okay.
it's owned by Mike Hollinshead.
All right, and so that's 116 acres, and they have purchased this 116 acres here in deed book 373-721 for $2.1 million. Is that correct? That's what we have here. They purchased this property, it's under agriculture currently, is it not?
Yes.
Okay. So as long as it's under agriculture, can you operate a rock crushing facility on your own there?
No.
Okay. Now, can a commercial rock crushing operation be placed on agricultural land?
No.
Okay? If they decided to put a commercial rock crusher on agricultural land, what would be the steps they would have to go through?
Well, the first thing they would have to do is rezone the property.
Okay. So they have to come to the planning commission.
They'd have to come to the planning commission, and seek a favorable recommendation, and then they would move on to this committee, to here, your committee, the Rules and Legislative Committee, where you guys would make a recommendation as far as putting on the agenda for the county commission, and there would be a public hearing at the county commission level, and then you guys would vote. And once they do that, if they were properly rezoned, if it was properly rezoned, then they could move forward with permitting.
So, based upon what this deed says, I do not believe Hollingshead Materials LLC is an individual, because it says it is a limited liability company.
That's correct.
So I don't know how they can qualify themselves as being individually owned, since they are an LLC. Now, since they are zoned agricultural, they have 90 days, I believe, to renew their agricultural exemption clause. If they do not, they're subject to rollback taxes, correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. I believe that you have sent a letter to them, and would you be so kind as to tell us what your office has done with respect to Mr. Hollingshead and Material LLC, please?
Well, essentially, I've sent them a notice to cease and desist for two things. Generally speaking, one is I've been hearing about this for quite some time as far as what their intentions were, and we believed that the intentions of the owner were to just move forward without even consulting with the zoning office. But I chose to wait until I actually saw something happening.
And what
rather
did
than-
you see happen, or what did you hear?
So what happened is I got a phone call that they were moving a crusher, a portable crusher onto the site. They actually had the highway blocked for a number of, for about an hour trying to get this piece of equipment onto the property. It's so large.
How
They had
big,
a
how big
dozer.
is it? How big of a piece of equipment is it?
It's extremely big. They had to doze both sides of the driveway just to be able to get the thing down the driveway.
Tractor trailer size?
Yes, oh yeah, it's transported on a tractor trailer, and they have to remove it with a crane. So they had a crane with them as well. So when I went out to the site to look at it, I took photographs of the crane and two crushers, actually, two portable crushers, and a dozer operator, and he was there still smoothing out a pad, put all this stuff on. So anyway, the cease and desist is to do two things. One, while we were on site taking photographs, the dozer operator told us that they were there to store commercial equipment for Smyrna Ready Mix. And of course, it's not zoned commercial, so they, not only can they not operate a crusher, but they can't use it to store commercial machinery as well for a commercial business, because they're not zoned for that either. So the cease and desist basically tells them to cease both those things. So we sent them a cease and desist, and then they had an attorney send a letter back to Ginger in response saying that they were going to investigate the grandfather issue. But in my letter, I was sort of well aware of what the position they were going to take, so I spelled out the grandfather zoning issue pretty succinctly in that letter, so you guys all have a copy of that.
So would you explain to us what the grandfathering position that they are claiming that they are falling under?
Well, if you guys remember when the highway was widened from 2 lanes to 4 lanes, they needed some rock to do that, and there were several key places along the highway there that allowed TDOT to quarry stone for that purpose to widen the road. Those were not commercial quarries like Rogers Group or something like that. They were just private quarries that TDOT operated for their own purposes on the private property. And so that was before we had zoning. The county didn't have zoning, so there was really no involvement with the county at all during that period of time. So there is a small quarry there on site, but it's pretty insignificant quarry, and it's not something you can see from space or anything, so it's not very big. But there is an existing quarry on site, but it hadn't been used in over 30 years. So the position with us is it's the same with TCA, and in Tennessee Code Annotated it says that when you have a commercial or industrial use, if that use ceases to exist within 30 months, then you lose your grandfather. So even if they had a commercial operation, which they didn't, they never did, but even if they were operating it commercially at that time, they would have lost their grandfather within the first 30 months. But they were never operating commercially, so in my mind, in my opinion, you don't even have a situation that could be grandfathered. So, but that's what the intent was, is to come in and operate it in that fashion.
Well, it sounds to me like if you're bringing tractor trailers full of equipment, that you have to dozer off the entryway and close down the interstate. I doubt he's making gravel for his driveway there. It sounds to
Exactly,
me
well, he
like-
owns Smyrna Ready Mix, so I think we all know. Well, Mr. Hasting here has a photograph of where the highway was shut off. If you all want to look at it. So it's pretty big. And there were actually 2 of those when I went by there.
Okay, so where we stand now is you sent them the cease and desist letter. They have responded with their attorney, who I believe is John White, with Toon, Intrican, and White. He will
No
be
relation.
representing them. Huh?
No
No relation
relation.
to you, okay? And Mr. John White, Thomas White, is a formidable attorney and represents all of the rock quarries, concrete companies, paving companies throughout the mid-south area. And so he has now communicated his intent to represent them here and has confirmed that to our county attorney. So I'm going to assume that the attorneys now will have conversations. The site is across from Mr. Hastings' house. And is there anybody else here from the neighborhood? I have several phone calls. You're there, okay? They're over near you,
Tiffany Woodley.
okay? So you understand what's getting ready to happen over there. So is there anything, Mr.
Let me get my bearings of exactly what we're talking about. I know where you live, and I know where you live,
I'm
but I
across
can't.
the street,
Yeah.
from me at Blackberry Ridge.
So, is it on 231 or on Square Hall?
It goes all the way through.
It goes all the way through?
And there's a corner piece of property with a house on it, you just saw on Square Hall Road, it comes out there with about 200, 300 feet on Square Hall Road, on 231. And they bought another additional tract to go, it wraps around that piece of property. And it starts, and it's got about, I'd say 800, 900 feet on 231. And it goes all the way back to me on the backside and all the way down the side of my property. And so it's 106 acres or something like that left. And
Just trying to get it in my head. When you turn left on Square Hall, it's on the left.
Yeah.
So we have a multi-million-dollar company represented by a top attorney that is now going to engage their services. And so we have to make a decision here. Or do we have rules and zoning ordinances, are we gonna enforce them or not? And that's kind of where that's the position I think we are in. And Mr. Chairman, I think we all need to be thinking about that.
God, we're gonna
This is
enforce
gonna-
we're gonna enforce them.
I know we are.
And it's gonna cost us money to enforce them.
And
but
that's my next.
It's just the way it is.
Okay.
That's my opinion. I mean, they just can't come in and do what they want to do just because they're a big multi-million-dollar business.
Thank you.
And just so you know, the history of the Rogers Group, which is also on Squire Hall, which I think is one of the reasons why it sort of predicated their decision to try to get that piece of property, because it's across the street from another known quarry. That quarry, if you guys would recall, came in prior to the county adopting a zoning. I mean, just like weeks before the county adopted zoning. So it did actually grandfather in because they initiated the project and everything. I think intentionally trying to beat you guys, beat you at the punch as far as adopt the zoning ordinance. So they actually have and do enjoy a grandfather non-conforming use that is legitimate. That was not zoned in there. In fact, to be a quarry in the county now, under our current zoning resolution, they would have to be located on a major thoroughfare, which it is on a major thoroughfare. They have to be located on a major thoroughfare inside one of our municipalities' urban growth boundaries. And our urban growth boundary on 231 is right about close to the hospital.
Okay.
So
They're not in the urban growth boundary.
they're nowhere close to the urban growth boundary. So it has to be zoned M2, which is our special industrial district. So it's not an easy thing to get done.
So if it comes before the planning commission, the planning commission denies it, then it goes before the zoning appeals board.
So what would happen is they would go before the planning commission. The planning commission, in a case of rezoning, simply makes a recommendation, favorable or unfavorable. Then it comes to you here at this committee, and then from here, it goes on to a public hearing in the county commission.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, we got a couple of neighbors out there, would it be appropriate?
Absolutely.
Mr. Hastings, Ms. Loosley, if you'd like to say something, we'd love to hear your comments.
appreciate the opportunity.
Yes, sir.
We have a lot of blasting already out in our neighborhood. I know the gentleman's behind this. He has a tendency to just go in and do what he wants to do. He's made a lot of money. We have also retained legal counsel to help the county out with the full burden of the expense will not fall on the county. And the community as a whole is completely against this. I didn't know I was at the Capitol for a meeting today until I got word late this afternoon when I got in that this was going to happen tonight. So we didn't have an opportunity to go out in the community and get others out here, but people are extremely upset. I think the blasting already has cracked it's practically kicking the spoon once already from what exists out there. And I've had windows broken and things like that. We just have to put up with what we have to put up with. Now, Chris, I'm under the impression that they may try to go straight to the BZA on this. Can they do that? And if it does, all they need is 3 votes to get it done.
They could, if they wanted to circumvent, the BZA does 3 things. The BZA grants variances, the BZA to zoning, the BZA grants special exceptions, and the other third thing to do is people can appeal my administrative decisions at the BZA level. And yes, it is a 5-member board, so a majority vote, which is 3, could usurp my, opinion. So basically, I've taken a position, a legal position. If they wanted to appeal that decision, like rather than appeal me at the Chancery Court level, they actually have to exercise all of their local options first, which would be the BZA. So before they could sue the county and go to the Chancery Court, they would have to go to the BZA first. And so then it would be up to the BZA to either side with me in the opinion that I've taken, which is spelled out pretty succinctly on the letter that you guys have a copy of, or they could overturn it. In that case, it might be if the county commission wanted to take a different position, you would probably want to consult with the county attorney and decide if y'all wanted to do something that way.
Now, I've done a little checking on that. In some counties, and I'm a developer also, it works different in some counties. Some counties, the BZA is the final say-so, and then you have to go to circuit court, and you go before the commission. And I don't know exactly how this county operates on that. If you were in Rutherford County, the BZA completely has complete authority. If they rule in favor of it, it wouldn't even come before the commission. That's all they have to do. That's the one thing that scares me about this.
And that's the same way here. If they ruled, let's just say they decided with the developer instead of deciding with me, they would rule that and take the position that my opinion was wrong. If they did that, then yes, they would start immediately. It would start, and it would be up to the county commission then to get with the county attorney and decide what actions it may take. Now, they won't automatically be in line to go to the commission. It would be up to the commission then to decide if they thought that was a fair decision or not, and see if they want to pursue action as well. You guys would have the same right to file a lawsuit as anybody else would, in my opinion.
In another situation here, he's the largest concrete batch company in the United States. I think part of his plan here is to haul his own stone from this location to his other locations. At the present time, he gets it from Rogers Group and other stone quarries here in the county. And he's paying a sales tax on that when he gets it, and then he's turning around and charging sales tax again when it comes concrete. It would be detrimental to have another quarry owned by him because it would be owned by the same entity. So you would lose the sales tax that goes out of the county completely. Any stone that goes out, you will not get. So basically, you're splitting the business up to where you'll have less money coming in. You'll still get the severance tax off of the stone, but you'll have less money coming in from the sales tax. And I think that's part of his plan. It already gives him 10% advantage there. Any other questions?
Ms. Woozley, would you like to make a comment?
No, thank you for having me. No, I second what Deanie was saying. It's, he's got his money. He's gonna go different routes and different ways to be able to make it happen. I'm very familiar with him. Unfortunately, a little bit of family on that side. So, so it's a little different ballgame too also when you're dealing with family for me. So, but I do not support it.
And he has tried this in other places.
In other places.
Yeah, it's the way it operates.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Any commissioners have any questions? Thank you, that was very informative, and we certainly need to be up to speed on all of that, and certainly the letter.
Thank you, Chris.
Eye opener, and we'll just have to refer to our county attorney. Okay, since no other questions, we'll go, the next one is a resolution. It was in the new packet. It's to adopt the Bedford County update all hazards mitigation plan. This resolution number 22-2024. It's in the back of the updated package.
Move to approve, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Motion seconds. Any questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, that goes on to the commission. Hey, I've got one other thing. I didn't know what really to do. It's not on the agenda. I'm gonna bring it up under other business. During the budgeting process, I went to the last meeting in May, I think it's May 26th, thinking we would get our notebook with our budget information in it. We didn't get it. Then on June the 7th, I went again, and it was a special call meeting, and I didn't get the budget book then either. And again, our finance director went over it, which was fine, but I didn't get to review it. We didn't get the books until we met on June the 14th. That's just not any way to do business. We had no way to have any other input. I mean, we're down to where we're set up to adopt. So I did copy some because I'm a little concerned about some of the things that are going on, and I'm going to read this, and because I think it's very, very important, and we all need to have one, and we're all aware of it as commissioners. And I'm very distraught on having not any feedback to this budget. Not one question did I get to ask because I didn't have the budget book. And that needs to change. I've been very upset about not having any feedback to this budget. And about most of us didn't have it. Now, some of them on the budget finance may know a little bit, but any of the commissioners.
Bill sent me a message and said he apologized, he went to Dover Street,
Oh,
and he didn't know he asked me where the meeting was, and I told him, but he said there was a lot of other people at Dover Street trying to get in.
I was
So,
afraid of that, but I'm sorry, I know she emailed everybody, but I wouldn't. Yes.
One thing that I remember, and I think I'm right on this, but I may be wrong, on the next, if I'm not mistaken, the next finance meeting next week, which I know is really late, but I believe that's when we usually get to ask our questions and we go over all the details, correct? Isn't that what we usually do it?
No, it's usually,
Before we meet.
But it's right
Maybe
before,
just an hour
yeah.
Before we meet, so you're done in an hour's
Oh,
time.
it's not.
no, we've had, that's not always been that way.
No, I'm saying that's what it is.
I understand it, that's why I'm upset.
Okay.
This has not been done correctly as far as I'm concerned. I'm gonna read just a couple paragraphs of this, it's very important. We have to stay in compliance with this. It has the Open Meetings Act. In enacting the Tennessee Open Meetings Act, the General Assembly declared it to be a public policy of the state that the formation of public policy and decisions is public business and shall not be conducted in secret. As Tennessee Code Annotated 8-44-101. As recognized by the Tennessee Court of Appeals, our open meetings law is perhaps one of the most comprehensive and extensive in the nation. There are no exceptions except those situations that may be in conflict with the Constitution. I'm going to read the 4 acts, and that's going to be it. There's 4 parts of the requirements of the act. It says that it's commonly referred to as the Sunshine Law. It's found in Tennessee Code Annotated 8-44-101. The requirements of this law are as follows. Number 1, meetings of any governing body are declared to be public meetings and must be open to the public at all times. That's Tennessee Code Annotated 8-44-102. Number 2, adequate public notice of all regular and special meetings must be given. That's Tennessee Code Annotated 8-44-103. Number 3, the minutes of the meetings must be recorded and open to public inspection, and at a minimum must record or contain a record of the persons present. All motions, proposals, and resolutions offered, the results of votes taken, and any record of individual votes in the event of a roll call. That's Tennessee Code 8-44-104. Number 4, all votes must be public votes, public ballot, or public roll call. secret votes are prohibited. Tennessee Code annotated 8-44104. And the last thing it says, any action taken in a meeting in violation of any of the foregoing requirements is void. That's Tennessee Code annotated 8-44-105. And like I said, I'm just dismissed that I didn't have any input at all. I didn't get to ask Robert any questions concerning the budget. There's a lot of questions to be asked concerning the budget. And it needs to be, it should have been discussed openly in public meetings, and I don't think it was. Now, the last thing, and I really, you see the rest of it, there's more than that. When I went through, we got a notebook of this when we went through in 2002. This came out of a notebook, and they quit publishing because they're very expensive. But this was in one of the last sections. If you wonder where this came from, it was published by the Tennessee CTAS, County Technical Assistance Association. The last paragraph, you can look on the back. The purpose of the act is to prevent public officials from deciding or deliberating public business in chance meetings, information assemblages, or by electronic communications. The form of the meeting is not important. The statute is to be construed to frustrate all evasive devices. And that was another law thing there, Matthews versus Shelby County. But I think we need to understand that. Certainly, we're all on the rules. We got to make sure we follow them. And like I said, this process, I've been on the rules for 20 years. I've never not been able to ask our finance director a question until this year. There was no formal situation. This is not on the agenda here. I had to put it on the agenda as a chairperson to even discuss it out in public. And it's just something's not right about that.
I wish the meeting would have been held where I could have even went, because it was the middle of the day.
Yeah, it's 10 o'clock. The one on the 26th was 10. It lasted 2 hours. It was over exactly 12. The second one is the 7th of June. It was 1 hour, and it started at 10. It was over at 11. But it was the same thing. Robert Daniels sitting there dictating what's in the budget. We haven't seen it. I can't ask questions because I didn't have the budget book. There's no way that's right. All of us commissioners ought to be furious about this situation. Even people on the budget and finance ought to be furious about it, because the rest of us commissioners, y'all have some on the budget and finance certainly have a means to ask questions, but the rest of us don't. And that's not right. That's not how county business ought to be conducted. It's not transparent, in my opinion. And I'm sorry, but it's 20 years, and I've never seen anything like this. I've never been able to not ask the finance director, when we hadn't always had one, or questions to the county executive or anybody running about the budget. I got a lot of questions that need to be answered. And one of them's the jail. And now, I don't comment on that, but when we built that jail, and I'm just making a short comment, we were to save money on guards. And 4 years ago, when Chet came in, I think that budget was about $400,000. I believe it's 1.7 million now, next year. Figure that out. You talking about a bill of sale? They said we were going to save money. And I said, well, we'll keep 400,000 line item there. You look at it. Over 4 years, since Mayor Graham's in, and it doesn't have to do with him, it's just when he's elected, we went from 400,000, and I believe it's a 1.7 on guards, when we were supposed to save money there. Those architects and those other people sold us a bill of sale that was not the truth. And again, it makes me furious that we were misled, and I don't know what's going on, but that needs to be scrutinized. If we were supposed to save money in that new jail, and this bumped up $1 million point, whatever, 3 or 4, that's not right. Somebody needs to tell me. I'm furious about it. And that's totally, I'm not picking on anybody, it's just that one line item there that they told us years ago that the new jail's gonna save all the money. All I'm making a point here, and it's clear, that didn't happen. And it's millions of dollars, and 1 cent is equal to 125,000. You can figure how many pennies they're taking up. And I'm not pointing any questions to anybody. I'm just saying that's a line item on the guards in the jail from the last 4 years. It is not good. And it's not what they told us as commissioners, that they'd save us money. That's the worst we've ever been misled. in my opinion.
Well, I can speak to that one, because the sheriff and I sat in that meeting, and the sheriff, when we were ready to open it, and the Tennessee Corrections Association came in and told the sheriff, and I said, you have to hire this people. And so it wasn't the sheriff's decision to do this.
I'm not
It
blaming
had nothing to do with
anybody.
this.
I'm just telling you that I'm looking at a line item. I'm not bringing any.
And they made it, they
I'm
made
not
us-
criticizing the sheriff or
He
anybody.
had nothing to do with it, so.
I'm just criticizing the process.
Oh, yeah.
The process isn't right, folks. And as commissioners, we ought to have to be able to get, not only told something to do, but we ought to have some feedback. Robert is hired by us. He is a CPA and he's hired by us. He's paid a lot of money. We ought to be able to have some feedback from him and back and forth. I mean, he's not a czar sitting there telling us commissioners what to do. We hire him, we pay him good money. In fact, the last time I checked, he made more than the county mayor. Finance director did. I don't know. I didn't come in here to really get into that, but it's hard not to. I might as well go on and since I'm on my soapbox, he had 2 positions, I'm pretty sure, last year and 1 more this year in the finance department. Now, they used to get by with him and 3 others, and they did a great job for years and years and years when I was with schools. Now, that's been 13 years ago. Now, I'm thinking that 1 year there was 134,000, that's got to be 2 positions at 66,000, and he's asking another position of 70,000 this year. That's 3 positions in 2 years, and you need to check your budget book, and we didn't get them in time. And that's the only reason why I mentioned it, and the reason why I mentioned that is because he's responsible for getting those books to us. And I'm so sorry. If any of that's wrong, you let me know. We'll see. Now, I didn't mean to point my finger at anybody, but I couldn't be any more upset than I have been the last 2 weeks. The more I thought about that, the more I fussed and fumed, and sorry. Okay.
The only thing I was gonna say is, I was under the assumption we were gonna be, I guess I missed that it was at 7 o'clock, an hour after we had a finance meeting, because I thought we always met the last day of the month and voted on our budget.
We do, but we have no time to put input then. You're voting to accept it then.
I know, but what I'm saying is, we don't have those few days like we.
No,
Yeah,
we don't
but
have any
finance
days now.
meeting
That's
is
why I
the
read
same
this.
day.
You can't change that stuff now.
No.
But we don't have to pass the budget that day. I mean, we can extend it 2 weeks and then vote on it in the middle of July. We can operate on a continuing budget for 2 weeks.
I don't know if I want to do that or not. I just want to know, I just don't want to be in this situation again next year
I know,
or any other
Lee,
year.
and I brought that up and talked about it with Robert as well. But if we do that, it's gonna have penalties that we'll pay on some capital outlay projects.
Yeah, I'm not for that. I'm not for
Let
doing
me
it.
finish. We'll have to rebid those processes, the school buildings and all that, and we know those costs are gonna skyrocket. And then if they do we not do those projects, or do we have to increase taxes to cover the project? Unlike you, we don't have enough time, and we're put under a
I mean-
time crunch to do something. So,
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, we don't have, like I said, we don't have time to ask the questions. I'll have to just vote no on it because
But we do, we meet at 7 o'clock on the 28th, finance committee meet at 6, and what are you doing in that
That's not
time?
much time.
You can't do anything to the budget. I mean, it's already set. You got 10-day notice. I just read the sunshine law. You've got to follow that. There's no getting around it. And I want everybody to know that, and all of you do need to understand it, because we don't want to get in trouble. Okay, is there any other discussion? I got an announcement too. There's a lot going on at the squares. Got a lot of stuff. If I can find what I had written down, I think the cruise in is going on again, and as they do, Celebration City Car Club's cruise in is this Friday at 6 to 8, and then I think Tennessee Downs and I don't know some of you other that are involved with that. It's on the square. What, Saturday?
Saturday.
Saturday from 9 to 11:30.
Right, and they've got about 200 cars, exotic cars coming in, and I mean Porsches, Lamborghinis, and it's gonna be a real show. Sylvia, you start.
Yeah, in the back of the annex is another event that is called the Merry Events. There's vendors and food trucks there. So if you're gonna be on the square, you're gonna have to walk to the square because they're planning on closing the square at 5 a.m. in the morning. So it's gonna be a
Big day.
very nice event, but it's gonna be inconvenience to people who don't wanna walk. But we want you to come.
They're gonna have B.B. King's jazz backup band here playing also.
But I was told they were gonna shuttle people from the parking lot down there across the street from City Hall. They were gonna shuttle people in golf carts from down there, people park down there, they'll shuttle them up here.
Okay, good.
Down there.
Big Springs.
Big spring shop.
The other thing, and I just want to make another comment, I cannot believe how stately our courthouse has turned around. County mayor's office and everybody else that is involved with it, I guess the courthouse and property, it is stately. You go into that old courtroom, it is unbelievably nice. If we've done one thing, is we've done a great service to this community and county to redo the inside of the courthouse. I couldn't be any prouder than we, all of us that was involved with that. Okay?
And let me tell you, with this renovation, as well as the square, there's more tourism opportunities coming in. And I can say, tourism dollars means money less on tax rolls. So individually. So
And the
we want-
outside looks good too.
Huh?
The outside looks great too.
Thanks. I have to do an event this weekend. It was wonderful. And whatever we did, you can enjoy the bathrooms in the basement.
Yes.
They're nice.
I can tell you that from working.
Yes, you were there. Gone for 42 years, that same smell was when I got back here in 206. So my compliments to,
Well, and Commissioner Yaki as well, she's been on top of this when she was back on the courthouse and planning, and Mr. Sanders, same way, continue it, but she's to be commended too. She's as proud and has done as much for the courthouse people as anybody I know that's been on commission. And that's why I made note of it, and you do need to be commended, and Commissioner Sanders is following up in good order as well, so that's good. I am. I think we've done a great service here. I mean, I'm as proud as can be about the courthouse and the care of the courthouse for the 20 years I've been on the commission. And I know next week, and yes, Commissioner Yaki.
If I don't want to get you back on your time.
But don't do it, Tim, please.
Can I move to adjourn?
Yeah, there's a move to adjourn. Then don't, Commissioner Yaki.
I feel like I have to say something.
You don't have to, but you
Yeah,
go
I do.
ahead. Well, if I recognize you do, but I recognize you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
I wanted to remind though everybody of that commission meeting when we set that last finance meeting. I can't remember the dates and when. It was asked if this was okay. I remember that. I don't know that I did it, but I know the mayor had part of it. So everybody had an opportunity at that time to say, no, let's have it at such and such date, such and such time. And nothing was said, and it was left like it was announced. The second thing I'm gonna say, Bill, is, this is the same way we've been doing stuff, I wanna say forever, at least as long as I've been on the thing, as far as timelines on this. And if we need to change that, we don't need to wait till right before we vote on something to do it. We need to, help me remember to start bringing that up in finances of what we can do to either remedy this process or space that time out or add some more meetings or whatever. But, don't wait till the last to fuss, I guess is what I'm
Us, we didn't get the budget book till June the 14th, Commissioner Yaki.
But if
We
you-
didn't have the book until June the 14th.
2 weeks before, and I believe that's what happened last year.
No, we've gotten a book in the last week of May several times, because I've got it written down when I've gone to meetings.
That's possible, but
Yeah, out of the last 5 years, we've gotten it the last week in May twice, because I've got it written down in other notes.
Yeah, but help
This ain't-
me remember to let's be more proactive on that.
Well,
and to get
the
that
finance
fixed.
department needs to be.
Well, there you go.
That's what, I'm not talking to
Like you said,
the
that's why
budget.
they make the
budget
big
side.
bucks.
Yes, I'm talking about the finance
I know,
department.
But we tell them what to do.
Well, certainly, sometimes, other than that, most of the time we're listening to the finance director.
What would make the most sense, it seems to me, would be at the finance meeting the month before, we go over it then, and we have an opportunity to ask questions, and it gives us time to digest it and be able to ask questions and be able to investigate it, because it is a little frustrating.
Well, if you get it the last week in May, then the next time we do have that time, June the 7th. I went for, I don't go to budget finance meetings. Was I there at that one, Commissioner? Yeah, and you know what I expected to get? Yes. And then I went back to Selma, and I said, you know what I expected to get? Yeah, and I didn't get the book to when? June the 14th. So I didn't get it 26th, I didn't get it June the 7th, I didn't get it to June the 14th. That's what I'm complaining about. You're talking about processes and procedures, and I hear you. Are you hearing me when we got the budget book?
I am.
Let's not blame the budget and finance committee involved with that. I'm
saying
talking
let's
directly
get it-
to the
let's get
finance
it
department.
fixed. You know, let's get it fixed.
Okay, good. Well, hopefully it will be next year, you know. I'm sorry. We got more to turn. Yeah. Okay. We do have 4th of July next week. And there's, War Chase's got something going on Independence Day, the 2nd, I think on Saturday. And I guess there's some other stuff at HV Griffin Park on the 4th. I guess it's Monday. They have fireworks. They have something at 5 and then they have fireworks at 9. So we do, it's great to celebrate our country's independence. Yeah, absolutely. It's good to be patriotic. Thank y'all for being here.
Mr. Chairman, I could ask you something.
Yes, sir.
Benny Hastings, I live at 373 Highway 231 north of Shelbyville. I had a meeting at the Capitol today, it's an emergency call meeting, and I'm an economic advisor to the government up there, and I have a team. I'd like you to dismiss your meeting and you let me address the people, because I have some points and stuff to convey of what's happening. in the
Okay,
economy.
we're close. You can speak
Well,
for just
I
a
want
few
to be off
seconds.
the record because
Okay.
I don't
Well, that'd be up to that. I don't know. I'm not telling what Tom said what to do. But the meeting's closed. Okay.
I'm off the record, and I don't want this to be in the newspaper.
Well, good luck on that.
Well, you're being streamed.
Yeah.
Okay, that's the reason I want the meeting closed. And I
No,
want-
it doesn't make any difference. No, we better not do that. The meeting is closed. We're through. But I'm just, don't protect you. You better not, you better not say anything.
Okay.
I'm just telling you, it will be on record. That's all I'm saying. It will be on record. If you don't want it on record, don't say a word. Okay, we are close. Yeah, sorry. We're adjourned.
of order, but we do not have a quorum, therefore we can't make any approvals or anything, but we will hear the reports and we'll go through the process. We just want to approve anything. If you will, bow your heads and I'll say a word of prayer. Our most gracious, kind Heavenly Father, we just ask that you be with Commissioner Brown, Father. We understand that he's had an accident, and we just ask that you be with him. Oh Lord, what a godly man he is. We just can't thank you enough for his presence that we've had over the many years up here. So we ask that you bless him one more time, Father. Father, we just ask that you go with us and lead us and guide us and direct us in everything that we do, so that we'll make the right decisions concerning your children and your country and your world that we represent. Father, we just ask that you bless us in many ways. In Christ's name I pray, amen. We can't approve any minutes, so we'll defer that to next month. Animal control.
I don't have anything to add to my report. It's hot.
Oh, boy.
It's definitely hot.
We keep them cool.
We're trying. No welfare checks at this time.
All right. Any questions for animal control? Hearing none. Sheriff, you're up.
Okay, in the month of May, we controlled 63,679, and I know that doesn't include my mileage, but still over 2,000 miles every day. Hard on the cars, but we feel like that's what we need to do. Investigations, 508, traffic accidents, 84 total, motorist assist, 66, domestic, 15, escorts, non-arrest, 31, transports in custody, 42, traffic stops, 139, 911, 119, 961 calls. Drug task force in the month of May was 9 investigations, 3 which were previously convicted felons. There was 1 vehicle seized, as well as $4,373 that was seized. Again, it's your usual marijuana, crystal, methamphetamine, or ice, cocaine, crack cocaine, 1,060 doses of prescribed medication, heroin and fentanyl were seized. And I'll throw this in, it's not really on the report, but Chief called me yesterday. And you want to tell them, Mickey, about the court officer?
Yeah, we had a gentleman try to come through the courthouse with about a quarter ounce of fentanyl. Fortunately, ran through the X-ray machine, so we found it. So, but quite a bit.
A quarter ounce fentanyl probably kill everybody.
Yeah, absolutely.
Kill
Several
everybody.
Yeah.
So kudos to our court officers. They did what you see here in a minute with 1,000-2,000 every month coming through them, so it could easily slip by if you weren't really doing the job. In the jail, there was a total number of 375. There was 28,610 meals that were served at $1 per meal. Commissions that came into us was $13,406.13. And speaking of the court docket, in the month of May, on the docket was 1,371 actual individuals that came into our courts that month, 2,404. So see how easily somebody could slip in with something. Thankfully, they were on their toes and doing their job. And I might say this too, a lot of courts do not, for courtroom security, do not necessarily have certified officers, but all ours are. They can go out on patrol or do whatever, they're all certified officers.
Any questions for the sheriff? Hearing none, EMA report?
I don't have anything to add to the report, other than in the last committee meeting, it was brought up and passed to go to commission as our hazardous mitigation plan was approved by FEMA. This was probably about a 2 or 3 month process. We actually had to resubmit some things to get that approved, which we did. So that, just a quick summary of what that does, it helps us be eligible for federal funding in case of man-made or other disasters that may happen here in Bedford County. That also includes our communities and our cities. It includes the county, the city of Cheville, Bell Buckle, Normandy, Ward Trace, and our school systems also. That just makes us eligible. It's a requirement by the state and the federal system that we do that. It's updated, well, it's redone every 5 years, but updated every year. So that makes it available for us to get funding. I do know that as starting next year, if you want what they call PA, which is public assistance, we know we're always looking, we have something happens here, getting numbers in from various people about what it costs for that particular incident or disaster here. The reason why we do that, we have a number to meet here in the county, and the state also has a number to meet, a statewide number. If those two are met, we are eligible for having, you see where the president declares something in a national or natural disaster or whatever, that opens funding up. But that's why it's important that we work together is, to get that number and things in. So just wanted to say something about that. That's what that was earlier, was to get that. It has to be approved by our commission. It also has to be approved by our cities of Normandy, Ward Trace, Bell Buckle. They've been notified of that, and they're going to do their own amendments and pass those during their community meetings. So we have to supply that also. So I just want to say that.
So how was this weekend? You had Bell Buckle, you had Shelbyville, and now you got the car show this week.
Right,
Kind of busy.
Last weekend, we had a small dilemma. We had 2 events going on in Bedford County. We had the RC Moon Pie Festival in Bell Buckle, and we had Juneteenth celebration
Right.
down here. We were supporting Bell Buckle, however, I did swing through, make sure everything looked all right, didn't see anything out of the ordinary.
Right.
Everything was fine. I talked to the commissioner, and she was here and said that they were pleased with the turnout and so forth. So, of course, this coming weekend, they talked about it the committee before. The car show, we're expecting probably several people for that. It's a big thing here also. So, yeah, events are starting to pick up. You know, we have a small horse show here
Yeah,
next
it's
couple
gonna,
of months.
yeah.
And,
Well, there's a horse show this weekend.
oh, well,
It's
there's,
in
yes,
Celebration.
but we have a lot of people over there, so, and, but yeah, we got a lot of things going on, and everything went well this past
It
weekend.
did, thank you.
Mhm.
Yes.
Maybe one other thing, talking about the car being up here on the square, do you remember the times that they're gonna shut down the square? It's posted today, but I don't remember
I
what.
believe it's 5 o'clock in the morning.
5
Actually,
a.m.
part of the square is gonna be shut down Friday night, is that correct, Anna?
That's for another car show.
No.
No.
Later after that, though,
Oh,
to help
later.
set up.
Yeah, like 9 o'clock.
Right. That's gonna be like on the inside, you'll still be able, I think, to travel around, but I think it's 5 o'clock that it shuts down the main roads.
On Friday?
Saturday morning.
Saturday, so the road will still be open around the square.
On Friday night up until 5 a.m. Saturday morning.
Okay, and then they're gonna shut down the whole square, so as long as we get that word out and people know they can't drive around here and so.
And they did go to the businesses around the
Yes.
square and pass out flyers and tell them what that was doing and encourage them to open because they would have people. So we're not saying close your doors and stay away. We're actually trying to make it a good thing for them also. So I know, like you said, that there's a vending, food trucks and
Food
craft.
trucks
yeah.
and another event, it's Mary Maker something, help me out now, what's the name of the group on the Marketplace? Yes.
Maker's Market.
Maker Market. So, it's great with 2 events. She had it first. She saw the potential to share. She moved her event smaller, brought in the larger. So that's the kind of spirit we want to keep within our new development of downtown, especially promoting the tourism dollars.
And just on the back end, closing at 5 a.m., the event ends around noon. The roads will be open as soon as possible, as soon as they can clear the area of any of the,
But the lower event goes to
all day,
all day.
into the afternoon.
We just need to make sure we get the word out, as y'all know, clerk's office over there where everybody gets their tags, and it's the end of the month, and that's when everybody floods to get their tags, and it's on a Saturday, so they'll have to park in the back. You know, they're not gonna be closed,
Right.
so these people will know that they're still open, but they have to park in the back. All right. Juvenile detention.
I don't have anything to add to my report unless you guys have questions.
You know, I know y'all have talked about
I sent her a message about
Right
the
now.
question. Yeah.
yeah, and I'm just, when does that take effect? Or it has it already?
Was gonna start it for the fiscal year for all
For the
the other
fiscal,
counties, so it
okay.
would be July
Right.
1st. So we'll
And that keeps them
send all our
straight.
contracts out and change that number. But I did just a few months, I did February, March, and April for Coffee County, and that would have given us an additional $1,092 for this year. And then Lincoln County would have been $559 for that same 3-month period. I just did a quarter for each, and that's about the difference it would be.
Okay.
That'll help some.
Yeah. Any questions for you, Ron? All right, then none, we'll move into the probation.
Nothing to add to the report, but I do kind of want to echo what the sheriff was saying about court security. We work closely with them in the court, and we've had to call on them a couple of times and for assistance in our office, and they've always been good professionals. So we appreciate everything they do for us.
Let me ask you a question, because everybody that visits his office, they have to come through that same door to
They have
get
to
to
come
him.
through that front.
So there's only one way
Correct.
into the sheriff's office.
Well,
Well, I mean, for the public.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, all our clients have to come through the scanners out front. This is actually the second instance. One of our clients brought in a pipe and some THC and security all that. So
I'm glad that that's on top of that. All right, like I said, we can't approve anything, we don't, open reports, so they'll be put on next month, and they'll approve this one as well. Any old business or new business that we need?
And the announcements have been made, so.
We made a lot of announcements.
Yeah.
We can adjourn if we want to. Thank y'all for listening.
It's a good committee to be.
Property committee meeting, and Commissioner Ferris is going to lead us in prayer.
Dear Heavenly Father, thank you, Lord, for allowing us to be here. Thank you, Father, for giving us this place to live where we can gather and conduct this business, Lord. I pray that we never lose sight that what we do is for your glory and not ours. Father, forgive us where we fail you. In Christ Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Okay, everyone's present except for Commissioner Sweeney, and I know he was en route back coming from out of town, and he was afraid he was gonna hit traffic, so he must have. The first thing on the agenda is to approve the minutes of the May 17th Courthouse and Property Committee meeting minutes.
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, next is planning and zoning. Mr. White?
You guys have my report? I don't really have anything to add to it, unless you guys have questions.
I do. And I may, you and I may have already talked about this. Is there anything new on the Longview?
We'll have a planning commission meeting next week on Tuesday, 7 o'clock. And what we did is we decided to bring that back as a study session to kind of slow it down a little bit. And so that's what it's actually on the agenda for next week as a study session only. And that'll give the planning commission members an opportunity to ask more questions, make some suggestions, kind of make the peace with it. And then the following month, it would come back to us as an actual plan.
I'm sure everybody got the same emails that I got in favor of, and then the family members that we spoke of were in favor of the PUD. I got several, a couple of texts from people in that area that were in favor of that.
So generally speaking, the plan unit development of PUD is a plan unit development. And plan unit developments it's really the only zoning tool that our county or really any entity has where the planning commission has an opportunity to sort of negotiate and offer higher density development in trade for things like amenities. Literally every other type of subdivision that is offered really just sets a set of minimum standards for that particular zoning district. And if a developer brings in a plan to the planning commission that meets those minimum standards, the planning commission has no choice but to approve those. And that's typical development. You never see it at the county commission level unless they need a rezoning for some reason. So if they wanted to zone it to R1 or R2 or something like that, then it would come to do the same thing the PUD does. It would come for rezoning first, and then they bring a plan. But again, they would bring a plan to the planning commission that would meet that R1 or R2 or A1 set of minimum development standards. The planning commission then can approve that plan based on whatever it's zoned. The PUD is the same as that, and that is it has to be rezoned first. So it has to come through the planning commission into the county commission as a rezoning. Then if it gets rezoned, then they bring the plan back to the planning commission, where the planning commission does exactly what it does with traditional developments, is they have the final say on subdivision. So if it's done correctly, and if the planning commission does its job in the study session portion of it, where they have the opportunity to ask questions and things like that, and make suggestions and ask for more green space or whatever. If they do what the book allows them to do, then you're always going to get a higher end development, far higher than you could ever possibly ask for any other way, because essentially any other type of development, as long as the lot dimensions meet the meet the requirements, and it has sewer, road frontage, all that stuff, you don't know what it's going to be. The economy sort of dictates what it's going to be, and the area, and the developer, who the buildings are, those kind of people who dictates what's going to happen. With the PUD, they submit a pattern book, and if that pattern book is what gets approved, they have to build it exactly like it's in the pattern book. I don't have to issue a building permit to anyone that doesn't want to build a house exactly like it's supposed to be on that lot. So that's how that works. So, not saying that everything always works perfectly, but in a perfect world, if the planning commission is doing what the planning commission is supposed to do, then it should always be something that's at higher level.
Well, and the good thing about that is too, they usually have HOAs where there's more restrictions, so it's gonna be at least cleaner. They have more regulations as far as keeping everything clean and looking the same.
Unlike a traditional development, it has to have an HOA, because there are features that are going to be owned and maintained by the developer in perpetuity. So that developer will transfer those rights to the HOA as a corporation, and that HOA then owns those rights, and they also have to maintain those things. So then they charge dues and things like that to the people in the subdivision. It's not been a very popular thing in Bedford County since I've been here, or before, that you just don't see HOAs here. They don't have to do it, so they don't do it. But in a PUD, they have to do it.
Does anybody have any other questions for Chris?
Can I ask one question?
Sure.
So Chris, if we do the PUD, that relieves the county from a lot of upkeep and maintenance and obligations, would it not?
It doesn't
Sidewalks.
it doesn't relieve the county of any responsibility on the road, because what'll happen, just like a traditional development, the road will be given to the county essentially for $1, as long as the county commission accepts it. So what would happen is, on the road, and I'm just talking about the road, on the road, the person would put up a bond and a letter of credit to take care of the road, and make sure the road is built out to the, it's engineered, plan. And so that person would, until that road is finished, that road will be under bond. So the county's not on the hook for it if the developer goes bankrupt. Then, at some point in time, when they finish the road, Mark Clanton's road superintendent will go and inspect the road through its different stages of construction, because it goes through multiple phases. And when it's done, Mark Clanton will sign off on it and say, yeah, it's built it to the county road specifications. We have a list in our county subdivision regulations that tells you exactly what those specifications are for a county road. Once he sees and agrees that they have met those things, he will come to the county commission and ask the county commission to put it on the road list. And so that's how that happens. And if you guys put it on the vote to put it on the road list, it becomes a county road, and then we have to maintain it in perpetuity. Everything else, though, is being taken care of by the homeowners association. They're going to have street trees, or they propose street trees, sidewalks on both sides of the road, curb and gutter, all that stuff is maintained by the HOA. So Mark won't be on the hook for it, the county taxpayer won't be on the hook for the amenities.
Commissioner Yawkey, and I wanted to add everything that Chris said, and the calls that I get, complaints out in the county, and I know y'all get it too, but, the doghouses sitting out in front of the front porch, and they don't like that. The guy won't mow their grass enough. They've got a car I know is not running, doesn't even have a tag on it, and it's jacked up on blocks. They got too many cats. They let their kids play in the street, or what, name it, and those are the complaints we get, and 99.9% of them will be taken care of by a homeowners association.
Yeah, makes sense.
99% of them cannot be taken care of by the zoning office. So, because the county, we don't have a property maintenance code that we adopted. So yeah, we can take care of things like multiple junk cars, but only over 3. So, other than that, we can't do it.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, IT department.
So, if you guys look inside the report, you got a new employee, his name is AJ Vanderpool, to replace the previous the network security engineer, Alex Woodward. Mr. Vanderpool served in the United States Air Force, and he recently graduated from the IT program down at TCAT, and we're excited to welcome him to Bedford County, and I think he's going to be a great asset. We're looking forward to working with him, and for you guys as well. And the IT department also completed the CGIS training, and that training is required by the TBI, and it's for auditing reasons also, to be compliant, to work on systems at E911 and the Sheriff's Department. And on the back of the report, we also have a current list of projects that are in progress right now, and we're getting to those to pass.
Got a lot going on.
Yes, and there's a little bit more that's not on the back of that yet, but we're getting through as fast as we can.
He's fixing my email.
Yeah. You can add that to the list on there.
Okay, does anybody have any questions? Y'all always do a great job, thank you. Fire department?
We have a copy of my report, unless you have any questions, I don't have anything to add to it.
staff?
We're fully staffed right now. But I think people will change.
Okay, any questions for Mark about the fire department? Okay, 911. Everybody has a report for 911. Any comments on that? Okay, GIS media.
I don't have much to add, other than I was writing this a couple of weeks ago, and I got my weeks confused, and it says I'm gonna be out of the office the rest of this week for a church thing. That was last week. So I've already been there, done that. Got the t-shirt. But I am leaving on Monday for Uganda, and I will be in Uganda for 3 weeks. So the date on that is correct. But other than that, is any questions on the report?
Anything, y'all have anything? Any questions? Thank you. Okay, I'll entertain a motion to approve all reports.
Move to approve.
Okay, all in favor? All opposed? Okay, does anybody have any old business? Okay, I've got several things on new business. The first one is the surplus, of the EMA building at Railroad Avenue, and I'm gonna let Mr. Kitchen speak to us about that a little bit and update you.
All right, this is our first step to going through the process of what we need to do. As we all know, we're looking at moving just down the street. So this would be to move this forward as we get ready to make that transition to the other building. We do have to have some things done to that building. So we're not sure on a date that we'll be vacating it, but we want to make sure that we have everything that we need to get done in line, so when that does come up, we'll be ready or near ready to do that. So that's why we're asking for that to be pushed forward to the commission.
Does anybody have any questions about that before we move forward? Okay, so I'll entertain a motion to surplus the EMA building and send it on.
Make a motion, surplus building. Send it on to the commission.
I guess it would be sent to, I guess it would go to finance, I would think, yeah, wouldn't it? Because they do all surplus. Yeah, but then they have to put the bid, yeah. So I guess we'll surplus it, and then they'll have to put out is it RFP, or, I always get that messed up, is it RFP or RFQ? I get it all messed up. Anyway, for a bid, to be bid out for sale. Sealed bids, yeah. Okay. All in favor? Did we get a second? Yes. Okay. All in favor? All opposed? Okay. Another thing is, I got an email from a Mr. Blake Smith, and I know you've probably seen on social media the issue with homelessness in the area and about the Rite Aid building. I know it's more of a city issue, but his suggestion, and he wanted me to bring it forward in this committee, so I'm bringing it to you, is his suggestion was, could we put them in the old jail and have a temporary place? And I was, I don't know, I just don't know. We've got other plans for that, but he asked me to, and he's a concerned citizen, so I'm bringing it to you all. So any comments on that?
That building is not fit for occupation.
I know that.
liability too.
It's,
Right. And he probably doesn't know that, is, you know, there's.
It looks good on the outside.
Right, but we know that there's major issues inside, and I don't think we can house anybody safely in there.
There's a huge
Yeah.
liability.
Oh, yeah, for sure. But I at least wanted to bring it up because he had a concern, and I wanted to bring it up so we could discuss it, so. Go right ahead.
So most of you know I live right there on the public square. So, you know, when we didn't live on the public square, I mean, we thought about homelessness like a lot of people think about homelessness. It's disconnected from it. You don't really notice it that much, but we notice it a lot because it's in our face every day. And like anybody else, you know, it's easy to turn your head and you just wish it was a problem that somebody else would deal with. But the more and more you're around it, the more you realize that it has to be managed, or it just continues on like it
The problem with it is downtown, is like when you have soup kitchens and things like that downtown, this is where you're investing and trying to, try to do something to bring tourists and things like that to your historical center. This is the place, the last place really you really want to create as a magnet for homelessness. And I'm not saying it because I live here on this road, I'm saying it because it is just not the right place. I think that at the end of the day, if you create some sort of solution that helps homeless people and they do go to it, it really, while it maybe needs to be in a convenient location, it doesn't need to be in the place that you're trying to attract tourists. Because it just has the opposite effect. It scares people. Not that they're all scary, because I don't think they are, but it is scary to some people, you know, when they see people that are in that
Well, you
state.
know, I know the city's been trying to work on this. I know they, put up some of the signs and everything about giving to nonprofits. And I know that one of the things a lot of people don't realize is your homeless shelter, they have, the people that go in have to follow their rules, and a lot of them don't want to follow those rules, and then that, and they only have so many openings. But, I mean, there's no doubt we're gonna have to look at it at some point, maybe a joint venture with the city or do something, because, we don't want those people. I mean, if you look at like, I don't know, I guess I think of Nashville, there's an area of Nashville where they all just hover and they're all, and Murfreesboro has an area like that, like under the bridge, and, we don't want that. We've gotta figure out a solution at some point.
We do, and then the thing is, if you create something really nice, you're gonna get homeless people from other places.
Yeah.
It's gonna become a magnet for it. And so I think probably every community is figuring out who's gonna be the last person to do something for them, because then they're gonna lose all their homeless people to whoever does the first thing. And so that's, I think, a problem.
I do think it's something we're gonna have to sit down and talk about and figure out some solutions, but I think it's going to be a joint venture with the city. I mean, because I think it's mostly in the city.
It's mostly in the city.
But I think there's also a need in the county. There's potential for that happening more in places that are in the 5+ acres where people don't even know. And how do you communicate and educate what should they do in that process?
Yeah,
I don't know.
I don't either.
I can see it happening more and more as we go.
Well, I mean, with inflation the way it is and gas prices and people, I mean, there's a lot of things happening financially with people that hasn't happened in a long time. But it's something we all need to be thinking about for sure. Does anybody else have any other new business? Okay, we've already been over announcements, I guess. Any other announcements? Does anybody know when the fireworks are at the park?
What was that?
Fireworks at the park?
Yeah, it's 4th of July.
It's on Monday.
It's on Monday.
It's on Monday.
Okay.
Same as Christmas. Christmas is 4th of July, always on Saturday.
And
my birthday is Tuesday.
Okay, it's 4th of July. All right, if there's no other announcements, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Now, I know
Okay.